In the heart of the Middle East lies a nation shattered by over a decade of war. This is Syria, a country whose story is intricately tied to one man, Bashar al-Assad.
Bashar al-Assad took power in 2000 after his father Hafez had been in control since the 1970s.
From a reluctant leader to a global symbol of authoritarian resilience, Assad's reign has been marked by promises, controversy, and devastation.
Every person do mistake every day. Otherwise, if you deny the mistakes, we deny the human nature of the people.
But what brought Syria to this breaking point? To understand, we must delve deeper into the life and rule of Bashar al-Assad. Early life and rise to power. Born in 1965, Bashar al-Assad's destiny was never meant to lead to the presidency. As the second son of Syria's longtime ruler Hafez al-Assad, Bashar trained as a doctor, specializing in ophthalmology in London. His brother Basil was groomed to succeed Hafez, but Basil's untimely death in a car accident in 1994 left Bashar unexpectedly thrust into the political arena. Returning to Damascus, Bashar was systematically prepared to inherit power. In 2000, after Hafez's death, Bashar assumed the presidency. Promising modernization and reform, his ascension sparked hope among Syrians eager for change. His early rhetoric suggested a break from his father's hardline policies, earning him a reputation as a potential reformer both at home and abroad. A regime of promises and control. Despite initial optimism, Bashar's regime soon revealed its true nature. While introducing economic reforms like loosening state control over industries and allowing limited privatization, he maintained tight control over political life. Critics faced harsh repression, imprisonment, and censorship. Activists who dared to push for political freedoms were often met with state violence, a chilling reminder of the iron grip established by his father. Syria's government under Assad relied heavily on patronage networks and security forces to stifle dissent. By balancing military support and elite alliances, Assad entrenched himself as the unchallenged ruler, all while cultivating an outward image of progress and modernization. The Arab Spring and Civil War. In 2011, as the Arab Spring ignited across the Middle East, calls for political reform and greater freedoms reached Syria. What began as peaceful protests in cities like Daraa against corruption and state brutality quickly escalated. The regime's violent response, involving mass arrests and killings, transformed a political protest movement into a widespread armed rebellion. As opposition groups fragmented into diverse factions, including Islamist militants, the conflict spiraled into one of the most devastating civil wars of the 21st century. Assad's government, labeled by many as a pariah regime, was accused of heinous war crimes. Notably, international watchdogs documented the use of chemical weapons against civilians, leading to global condemnation. International dynamics. Syria's civil war drew in global powers, turning the conflict into a proxy war. The United States, European nations, and regional players like Turkey supported opposition factions, while Assad's regime found unwavering support from Russia and Iran. In 2015, Russia's military intervention marked a turning point. Moscow's air power and ground support bolstered Assad's forces, enabling key victories in cities like Aleppo and Damascus. Meanwhile, the humanitarian toll was catastrophic. Millions of Syrians fled their homes, creating one of the largest refugee crises in recent history. Entire cities were left in ruins, with neighborhoods obliterated by relentless bombings. A leader under fire. Amidst the chaos, Bashar al-Assad's image underwent a calculated evolution. His British-born wife, Asma al-Assad, played a central role in shaping their public persona. Often depicted as a modern, relatable couple, the Assads maintained a contrasting narrative that downplayed the devastation gripping Syria. State propaganda portrayed Assad as a protector of sovereignty and stability in the face of terrorism. However, critics labeled this as a facade, masking the regime's brutality. Allegations of systemic torture, mass disappearances, and the targeting of civilian infrastructure painted a grim picture of life under Assad's rule. Economic collapse and internal dissent. Years of war, sanctions, and corruption decimated Syria's economy. Inflation soared, leaving many Syrians unable to afford basic necessities. Public services crumbled, and poverty became the norm. Even areas controlled by the government suffered severe hardships, leading to growing discontent even among Assad's traditional support base. Internally, cracks began appearing within the regime. While Assad maintained the loyalty of key military factions and intelligence services, some officials defected or criticized his leadership. These internal challenges, coupled with ongoing resistance movements, signaled the beginning of a potentially unstable future for the Assad regime. Looking ahead, while Assad remains in power, his grasp on Syria appears increasingly tenuous. Discussions of his potential resignation or international agreements for a transition have surfaced repeatedly, but no concrete steps have materialized. Analysts speculate that Assad's long-term survival depends on continued support from external allies and his ability to suppress dissent domestically. Syria's reconstruction poses another monumental challenge. Rebuilding a nation torn apart by war requires resources, stability, and unity qualities currently lacking. The international community has tied reconstruction aid to political reforms, further complicating the regime's efforts to stabilize the country. Reflections and hope. As we reflect on the lessons of Bashar al-Assad's reign, one question looms large. Can Syria overcome the scars of dictatorship, war, and displacement? For millions of Syrians, resilience remains their defining trait. Efforts to rebuild, reconcile, and heal continue, led by individuals and communities both inside and outside the country. Despite the challenges, hope endures. A new generation of Syrians dreams of a brighter future, one free from violence and oppression, where peace and prosperity can take root.